Hello everyone and welcome to Figure Study, where we appreciate the form in Transformers and sometimes Transformers that we've already looked at in some form or another. And yes, I know what I said, and if you're curious what I said, you can check the link in the annotation, whatever I decide to do, to look back at my video I did for Sentinel Prime. But yes, once upon a time I said, I'm cool with Sentinel Prime. I think he's neat. I don't need Astrotrain. The orange eventually got to me. What can I say? I gotta be honest, own up to my mistakes. I was wrong. Sentinel Prime was just too orange. Too much orange. He was a bottle of Metamucil given toy form. I mean, just so much orange. So, got rid of Sentinel Prime a while back. Saw Astrotrain in the store, was like, yeah. And honestly, I do have to admit I was completely wrong with Sentinel Prime. I mean, I think the figure itself is cool regardless, but the color scheme on Astrotrain looks a lot nicer. I mean, first of all, it's not just a whole bunch of orange, which is always good. And I think I may have actually... Did I not get that lined up right? No, I think... Okay, never mind. Yeah, I mean... It looks a lot better to me. I like the white and black, much more reminiscent of like a more normal space shuttle color scheme these days. I know it's not really a traditional space shuttle, but just the color is very similar. And I can appreciate that. And I mean, this is probably going to be a relatively quick one, just because there are very few details on this that are any different than Sentinel Prime. But I really do appreciate the color scheme here a little better. There's more definition to the details in shuttle mode here, just with the fact that you've got the very contrast-heavy black and white colors, and then the purple. It works a lot better to me. And honestly, I don't remember too much about most of the details of Sentinel Prime anymore, but I like this color scheme better. I mean, I definitely think it would be nice if the cockpit area had a little bit more color to it, so that you could kind of differentiate that as a shuttle cockpit. But all things considered, I'm still fine with this. I think the most important detail is actually how you've got like the nose section that kind of goes from black to white back to black. I think that's sort of a defining feature and works much better for a shuttle. And of course, you've got this giant mass of purple, which, I mean, it's okay. And I do like that at least with the purple, you don't lose the really nice molded definition and details that are in all of these sections here. But, it's a big thing of purple. But again, when compared to Sentinel Prime, can't really complain too hard. So him down and take a quick look at the headmaster, because why not? And here is Astrotrain's headmaster, whose name I don't care about, because when have I ever? Not a bad looking fellow. Let's see if I can keep it focused. Yeah, not a bad looking guy. But it's a headmaster. There's not a whole lot to say about him. I mean, I am kind of disappointed that only a handful of the actual, Titan Master. Only a handful of the Titan Masters actually have any real paint on them, aside from the big faces that they have. But, whatever. They're kind of an accessory at this point, but not terrible. I do have an odd kind of complaint about Astrotrain, though, and again, it's been several months since I've had Sentinel Prime in my possession. I honestly don't remember. I think this was a problem with Sentinel Prime too, but there aren't really any Titan Master pegs around him, and I think that's a real shame, because the whole point is there's like all the figures are supposed to be kind of like individual play sets, but here you've got the cockpit, and then he's got like his little gun, which not using for this, but like there's really nowhere else for any Titan Masters to go, and that's a shame. I mean, the deluxes, most of the deluxes have pegs where you can like stick someone on, so you could have like a small army of Titan Masters just, riding a vehicle into battle. And not so here, which is a shame. But anyway, there's Astrotrain Shuttle Mode. Definitely dig the white and black color scheme much more than Sentinel Prime's Metamucil colors. And I'm probably going to be repeating that throughout this entire video. But regardless, same exact mold, but it does look better in these colors, I will admit that. Now it's time to take a look at the train. Okay, train mode. Train mode for Astrotrain also much improved over Sentinel Prime. Again, instead of the Metamucil colors, you get this nice white, black, and purple scheme. And it works really well, and I actually like how the purple is a bit more evenly distributed throughout the shape here. And I mean, you even have the little front train bits actually have some slight color definition to them, and they're not just like solid blocks of gray like they were with Sentinel Prime. I am very into that. It is kind of a shame how you lose a lot of the wheel detail because it's just all purple, but I mean, there's only so much budget for things, right? Yeah, I mean, I still I said, I was more of a fan of the train mode than the shuttle mode for Sentinel Prime. Same thing with Astrotrain. I honestly like this better than the shuttle mode. I mean, the shuttle mode is probably a little bit more cohesive, I guess. It makes a little bit more sense shape-wise. I mean, this is just like a train that's got like, it's got two front ends, guns pointed in two different directions. The big Titan Master cockpit obviously points this way, but, like, if you're looking at it from this angle, like, this is the front, and this is the front. So it's this weird double-sided train, and, there is a definite lack of paint in this mode. Aside from the guns, you don't really get anything extra. Well, I guess these bits, but yeah, still, I like it. I like the shape. I like the fact that it's just different. There's so many figures turn into spaceships, and it's just nice to have a figure that turns into a train, and actually turns into a train by splitting their pelvis in half. You gotta admire that devotion. But yeah, no, I think all things considered, also great. My favorite mode of the two vehicles. And again, even though there's less paint definition, I think that the actual way that the colors are broken up in train mode, much better than with Sentinel Prime, especially because Sentinel Prime had like 3 shades of very similar colors. This, at least, there's a lot more definition. So yeah, there is train mode. Now to robot mode. So, can you guess what I'm going to say about Astrotrain's robot mode versus Sentinel Prime's robot mode? Because I bet you can. It's pretty much the exact same spiel. I mean, the actual figures, not really any different aside from the head, but the color scheme... Oops, that was a little off. The color scheme just works a lot better here. I mean, this nice light gray allows you to see a lot more of the molded textural details. The breakup around the legs and shins, it's very nice. Adds a little bit more interest down there. And there's that little bit of that like red and purple abdominal strip, which is fine. I mean, if nothing else, it adds some color. Although it is kind of weird that, like, and I'm sure this has something to do with Astrotrain himself. I don't have a huge attachment to the figure or character or anything like that, but, like, the purple, fine. You see that everywhere else. That red, there is nowhere else where that shows up. Same goes for the yellow on his head, but when it's on the head, I'm more okay with it. But anyway, it looks good. I mean, these really little black bits on the shoulders add just a tiny bit more detail to help break all of that up, which I really do appreciate. And of course, the guns on the arms, the purple fists. There's some really nice color breakup on this guy. And of course, you've got the giant purple pylons next to his head, with just a little bit of gray in there to kind of pull it all together, which I do quite like. I'll bring him a little closer so that you can actually see what I'm talking about here. I may need to adjust my lighting for the next for the next video, because this just costs casting all kinds of shadows. Yeah, I mean, it looks good. The head also, can definitely appreciate that head. There's not, you know, it's like his eyes kind of lack any real definition. They look kind of dead, but that little splash of yellow does definitely add to it. And it's hard to tell, but I think his face is a very slight different shade than the rest of this gray here, which is great that they want to make it stand out a bit, but I feel like maybe they could have bumped up the the difference a little bit more. Make it stand out a bit more, but whatever. And of course, as with Sentinel Prime, you could push those down. But I actually kind of prefer to have the pylons up. I think they work pretty well for Astrotrain here. So yeah, I mean, again, the figure itself, either way you want to get it, it's fine. I think it's actually really enjoyable, but I do have to admit I was wrong when I was talking about Sentinel Prime, and I think Astrotrain is by far the more superior of the two color schemes. Yeah. What can I say? I know when I'm beat. But either way, I mean, he is neat. And this is something, I don't even know if I mentioned this in the Sentinel Prime video. I may have not even noticed because of just all the orange. But I think it's really cool how there's this little bit of detail, this line detail that goes through here and actually continues on down through this part of the, I guess you could call it a pectoral, but that's actually a molded landing gear piece for the shuttle. Like, the fact that they were able to get that to line up is pretty cool. And again, I've said this before, but I really appreciate Titan's Return for just how much molded detail they've been able to cram into these figures. And I do really like Astrotrain, which is good because I have very few Decepticons for Titan's Return right now. It's almost all Autobots with the exception of Wolfwire. I am blanking on the alligator now because he's had like two different names. Is it Bone Cruncher? Bone Smasher? Bone Smasher. Yeah. So, Wolfwire, Bone Smasher, and Astrotrain. Like, those are the three Decepticon Titan Returns figures that I have currently, because I got rid of Mindwipe and haven't really had an interest in many of the others yet. I mean, once I can actually find Wave 3, I'll probably get a couple more, but yeah. I mean, that will all change once Triptychon comes out, believe me, but until then, it's nice to have one more Decepticon to kind of even out the fights, because, you know, even though they're the bad guys, it should be fair. Alright, so my silly self did a number of screw-ups in this recording and forgot to do size comparison, and also totally had my backdrop set up inversed. Yeah, it's been a day, but regardless, gonna do size comparisons now. So, Astrotrain in shuttle mode, and there is Samus for your size comparison. So, shuttle mode, train mode, robot mode, robot mode. So anyway, thank you everybody for watching. As per usual, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Any combination of those three would make me a happy Rob. And remember, art is more than meets the eye.